All right, everybody. It's the man called Dave with the Working Fans Podcast. And today we have a very, very special guest, a woman who's been in so many of the territories from back in the day. We're talking world class. We're talking Bill Watts' Mid-South UWF, ECW. I will always remember her as the first lady of WCW, though, the legendary Missy Hyatt. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Your time in wrestling, do you feel like it just helps you, like when you're just meeting people at a new job? And
Yeah. I mean, I have a big personality anyway, and I love to chat and I love to talk. I'll talk to anybody. I'm in line at Walmart and I'll start talking to the person in front of me or back of me, and I know it embarrasses people that I'm with, but I'll be like today I had to go to Target to get toilet paper and pick up a prescription. And there's a kid with one of those water guns, big water. I was like, ooh, you're going to have fun. Don't shoot anyone with the eye. He's like, oh, I'm going to hit him in the head. He was fun, but I just talk to people. I don't know why. I get it from my dad because it used to embarrass me when I was with my dad. My dad would talk to everybody, and he was a salesman, and he could talk to anybody. And I guess it's rubbed off on me. The hoarding and the talking to everybody rubbed off on me.
A lot of times we ask people, and I don't know this with you though, were you a fan of pro wrestling even when you got into it, or how did it?
Yeah, I think the only way you can make it in pro wrestling is you got to be a fan of it. I think, getting these college athletes that washed out in the NFL or washed out in whatever, and they've never watched wrestling to say, do you want to be a wrestler, and take them down to the power plant and they don't know anything. I don't think they're going to do, not one that I know has done well. I mean, Kurt Angle watched wrestling, so he knew what pro wrestling was. You know what I'm saying? The crossover. Yeah. I think that you have to really love wrestling to do well in it, because I didn't find wrestling until I was 17. And right when I saw it, I knew I wanted to be in it. I didn't want to wrestle, but I wanted to be in it. And there was no women in the business being managers. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew that I wanted to do wrestling.
And you got into world class. I remember you were in Texas with Howie John. You main evented with Sunshine, right?
Yeah, I had a great feud with Sunshine. As a matter of fact, we were main event in Texas Stadium in our mud pit match. Well, nobody wanted to go after the match, so it had to be main event, because who wants to wrestle in them? Well, they wrestle in blood and guts and glass and everything now. But back then, we had to be main event, but we were still main event on a big card at Texas Stadium back in 86, I think it was. I had a program that wasn't folded in pristine condition, and I lost it.
What was that time period like for you, though? Like,
it was the best time of my life. When I get into my boyfriend's DeLorean, I always say to myself, take me back to September 1985, because that was the Cotton Bowl. And it was the best time of my life. Short trips, short driving trips, almost every night. You can't beat it. It was the best, and get paid really good money. I mean, making like $1,000 a week. And back in 1985, $1,000 a week was a lot of money. That's like $2,000 now.
Yeah, for 85 for sure. Just because you did, have that time period with Texas Von Erich. Did you end up watching the Iron Claw?
Yeah, I hated it. I walked out when Mike went to go kill himself, because I was there when that happened. I couldn't take it. I cried. And the way they portrayed the mom, I didn't like. The way they portrayed the dad, I didn't like. I didn't like the guy that played Ric Flair. If I was Ric Flair, I'd find that actor and beat him up. The guy that played Kerry was ugly. Kerry was a god. There's absolutely no actor I know that's that good looking that could play Kerry Von Erich.
Yeah.
The Kevin was good. The only part I liked was when Kevin met his wife. That was cute. That was the only part of the movie that had anything that was good. The rest of it was horrible.
I took my girlfriend's daughter with me to see it, and she's young and she never even watched wrestling, but she had a father that was not very nice, and she saw it and immediately she took to it, and she was like, oh, but she's like, I hate this guy. She's like, is this true story? And I'm like, kinda. Like, it is. There's
I didn't know. I mean, I'd heard the rumors that they flipped the coin to who.
We were talking about the Von Erichs. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, the Von Erichs. Yeah, they were wonderful people. They gave me my start. I can't say anything bad about Fritz. Fritz paid me well. Yeah. He paid me honestly. I still have my first paycheck. It was for $50, and I didn't even really do anything. I ran out there and hit Sunshine with a purse. I got paid $50. They always were honest with me. I remember sitting in Fritz's office with Carrie and Kevin and Johnny and me, and we were trying to come up with my name, and I was coming up with stupid stuff. And Johnny, and everybody knew me as Melissa, because Melissa Hyatt's my real name. He's like, oh, Missy, come up with something better than that. And Fritz was like, Missy, what's your last name? I said, Hyatt. And he goes, okay, that's it. That's your name.
Wow.
So,
just like that.
Yeah, they gave me my start. I can't say anything bad about him. Kevin's a wonderful, wonderful guy.
Now,
Harry was always great to me.
You said in the beginning one of the best things too was like it was a short distance. Did you like to travel for wrestling, or was that more of a grind?
Yeah, I love to travel. As a matter of fact, we got to ride, and I was in Rochester, Minnesota, and flew into Minneapolis, and we had to take an hour drive. And it was the Powers of Pain, Shane Douglas, and myself. And it felt so good. It was like being on the road again. It was like, yeah, in a car with wrestlers. And then when I worked for GCW, I got to ride with 3 of the other girls from Detroit to Rochester, New York. It was a lot. We drove like halfway, and then we stayed in a hotel and drove the rest of the way the next morning. I'm asking them questions like, so do you guys speak Carney? You know, and I'm asking them insider questions and stuff. And they were so funny. I had the best time. GCW is, in my opinion, the best wrestling organization out there. Beats WWE, beats AEW, beats TNA. GCW and Brett Lauderdale are the most awesome people out there. I love them.
I was going to ask you about that because I saw that, and I saw you working with Blake Christensen and
Blake is awesome. He's so underrated. This kid, if he would just get a little bit more muscular, he could be a champion in any territory. He is so phenomenally talented.
Like,
and Joey Janela is phenomenally talented. Yeah. That whole locker room is so much talent in that locker room.
Yeah, I believe
that little micro man sitting over there on his suitcase like it's a pot of gold. I love Micro Man. He's my favorite.
Joey Janela, I feel like he's such a fan of like wrestling from the 80s and 90s he grew up on. I'm sure he must have been an interesting guy to talk to for you too.
Oh, he was great. They all treated me like a queen. Yeah. I've never been treated. I mean, I was the oldest one there. I mean, next year will be 40 years I've been in wrestling. So I'm like the oldest person in the locker room and the oldest veteran there. And just everybody was just so wonderful and nice to me from the first time I was there to the last time I was there. They wanted me for next Sunday for the blow off, but I'm going to be outside of Baton Rouge doing a show, so I couldn't be there for the blow-off match, which is bad because I was hoping that they would whack me with a purse or something.
That's awesome. I was going to ask, like, comparing and contrasting, like, what it was like working with, you know, the younger guys of the day of, like, yesterday, you know?
Yeah, it's awesome. This new generation, they're just so talented, you know, but what gets me is that they go over their matches in the back and, like, I grew up during kayfabe area where the heels had one dressing room, the baby faces had another. And if you had something to say to one of them, you sent it through the referee. And that's how you get your finishes. And that's how everything you would do. And so it still boggles my mind that we're all in one dressing room and everybody's going over their matches and doing other stuff. And I'm just like, we didn't do that. We didn't have the luxury. You know, we called everything out at the ring. And it's so much more spot on. And just the high spots and everything are just phenomenal.
It seems like more of a team effort from people I talk to.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
You know, because you were in a unique position getting into business, you know, like, you know, there weren't a lot of women at that time in wrestling. What would you say was some?
There weren't really any, only Moolah's girls were in it at the time. And Sunshine, Precious, me and Elizabeth started at the same time. So.
What would you say were like some of your, like, I don't know, best friendships, but some of the longest friendships you've made where you're still friends today, maybe?
I'm still friends with Lady Blossom, Jeannie, which I met in World Class. I'm friends with, and if somebody would have asked me in 1987 that you and Dark Journey would be friends 35 years later, I'd be like, get the hell out of town. She beats my ass every single night. I hate her guts. She literally beats me up. I mean, everybody thinks wrestling's fake. No. Watch Missy Hyatt versus Dark Journey. You'll see me getting my ass whipped. And now we're really good friends. And she calls me Sister Mama. And I'm friends with her. I was friends with Medusa until the Monsters of Rock cruise, but that's a whole long other story. As a matter of fact, Medusa introduced me to MK Bandit, Matt Robles. He's my boyfriend, and she introduced me to him. He's really awesome. He works Phoenix Championship Wrestling, where I'll be working at next month. And she introduced me to the love of my life. I didn't think at 6 years old that I would find somebody that I fell in love with. I didn't know what love was until I met him. So she did a really good job. So I need to buy her something really nice, something shiny.
Yeah, it's interesting just to hear, you know, the thing about Dark Journey, because I remember that was around 87 when I saw you guys. And oh my God, I had watched WWF, Crockett, but there was something about that promotion, the way Bill Watts ran it. It looked like everybody was beating the hell out of each other.
Told to go out there and beat my ass, and she did. We used to be curtain drawers, you know, the other wrestlers would be watching the matches because they just wanted to go and see the girls fight, you know, and Bill paid really well until we got under contract. when the house was really up. I remember in Jackson, Mississippi, and I got like an $1,800 payoff for that one night because we were up high up on the card. And I was like, wow, this is great. And then once you got under contract, you never made over your contract money because Bill was a shyster. She beat my ass every night. I do have to say that.
It's interesting, like the friendships and the relationships in wrestling sometimes, because, not everybody has had nice things to say about Bill Watts, but one guy that a lot of people love who was great friends with Bill was Jim Ross.
Oh, I love Jim Ross. Jim Ross, as a matter of fact, he's in the hospital right now. So send prayers to him. He is one of the most, when he left WCW, my career went in the tanker. He was the only one there. Not even my husband at the time, Eddie Gilbert, did anything for me in the booking committees. But Jim Ross got me as an announcer, and I got to work with him as an announcer, and Tony Schiavone. And I had such a great time with them. Jim Ross is a phenomenal person.
Yeah, and anybody, that checks out that time period of Bill Watts, Mid-South, UWF, like Jim Ross is the voice.
He is the voice. He's the best. I don't know what else. The only second compares Tony Schiavone, but I don't think there's ever going to be another announcer as good as Jim Ross.
You worked with so many, considered the best minds in wrestling. I'm kind of curious, what was some of the best advice you ever got for pro wrestling?
Oh, to keep your mouth shut and your ears open and sit in the corner and don't say anything.
Would that also be like the best life advice you ever got from pro wrestling?
Yeah, that's the best life advice because I have a problem. I just run at the mouth and talk a lot. So I never do it, But when I started in the business, I used to just sit in the corner and read a book and not, look at the corner, not look in the dressing room because I didn't want to see the guys changing. This was before we had before women had their own dressing rooms and stuff. But I'd sit over there and listen. And you learn so much more by doing that. I just have a hard time doing that. I still have a hard time doing that.
It's interesting because you've been in wrestling for so long, but you've had periods away from wrestling too. What would you say was the tougher transition? Was it getting into wrestling or getting away from wrestling?
Getting away from wrestling. It's like the mob. It just keeps pulling you back. I upped my price to do stuff January, and I thought, well, nobody's going to book me, and they're still booking me. I work almost every weekend, and it's amazing to me that I'm still getting paid. Somebody still wants my autograph, and I'm still getting paid, and I still sell pictures. Granted, they're pictures, old pictures. Nobody wants new pictures. I just started selling nudie pictures too, so that's a cool thing. So maybe I'll make some money off that. But yeah, it's amazing that people still want my autograph. And I love it. And I guess it's because everything's on Peacock or whatever. All the reruns, and WWE.com has all my stuff and running it, which I don't get a penny from, but it helps me.
Yeah, it keeps your name out there. New fans are getting to see you.
The best was at an autograph signing. I'm there at the table, and this kid comes up to me. He had to be like 20 years old, 19, 20, if that. He looks at me and he goes, seriously, like this. He goes, Joey didn't deserve to get hit in the head with a purse. I almost said, let me tell you something. I said, I did him a favor. I said, he had 45 minutes to go up against Blake Christian and he just couldn't beat him. I made an executive decision for the fans to put him out of his misery. And he looks down at all my stuff and he went, and walked away.
That's awesome.
I loved it. I love being pelted with bottles after I did that. I'm like standing there going, yes, if this was 1986, we could never get out. We'd never get out of the ring if it would have been 1986 or 87. They would have killed us. If that would have been Texas or World Class and we did a swerve like that, oh my God. To get heat nowadays and have bottles thrown at you, that's the best thing in the world.
That's probably why you would say GCW is one of the best promotions out there. You can still get that.
Yeah, those fans are just awesome. And then when we did the swerve in Tampa, that they thought, oh gosh, what's his name? Hold on. I got the poster on my wall because I'm so excited. I was so excited. Oh, Danhausen.
Yes.
Danhausen. And we did the thing that I go to throw Blake the purse. Blake goes to hit him and he drops it. And then Blake takes the purse, hits him 1, 2, 3. They thought there was a title change. They rushed the ring. They're banging on the ring. Everybody's going crazy. And then Matt Cardona comes out as the new GM. He's like, no shenanigans on my first night as GM. No using foreign objects. Restart the match. Da, 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 da. And Blake picks up my purse, whacks him in the head. 1, 2, 3. I didn't think we were going to get out of there alive. I jumped in the ring thinking I was going to be safe in the ring. Those fans were pissed off. They were mad. I loved it. Danhausen's awesome.
I would imagine the early time in wrestling, it was probably a little more stressful with the fans, right?
Oh
Because
yeah, let me tell you, I remember one time in oh gosh, what's over there in Texas? Not Rio, but El Paso, Texas. It was if John loses, Sunshine gets 5 minutes with me in the ring. Well, everybody was up and going crazy. We walked out to go to the ring with security like around us. They brought us back to the dressing room and said, "We're not walking out there. Those people are crazy." One of the ladies had her shirt ripped, almost had her gun taken. You know, they were off-duty police officers. So they had to get on the mic and tell everybody the match was not going to happen unless you take your seat. So everybody had to sit down. So it was a screw job finish. She only got a couple seconds with me. John picked me up and held me like this with my legs this way, my head this way. He said, "Cover your head." I covered my head. And he just used me as a battering ram going back to the dressing room. I came back with nacho cheese on me, gum, beer, all this nasty stuff. And I was like, yes, that's so cool.
oh, it sounds like you were definitely made for pro wrestling.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I was. I was made to be a heel. I don't like being a baby face. Baby face is not fun for me.
I saw that you had World War II history buff, and I've seen you do some Civil War stuff too.
Yeah.
Like
I do Civil War, World War II. I've done Revolutionary War, Vietnam, and what else have I done? There's another one that I've done, but that was just doing it for the heck of it. I went to Tigerland and got to be Viet Cong, wear the black pajamas and have an AK-47 and shoot at people. That was fun. And then Revolutionary War, I did Camden, and I was a spy for the British, of course. And then, but I normally do German Red Cross nurse. I have a whole field hospital. Probably the largest German medical equipment from World War II. I probably have the largest collection in the United States. So everything could be in a museum that I have.
I think I remember one of the Clash of Champions. It might have been in South Carolina on one of the military bases. They were showing like Ranger Ross, and you were doing one of those things.
Yeah,
like,
I did the slide for life. It was in North Carolina, Fort Bragg. I did the slide for life. I rappelled, and I did something else. It was great. That was so much fun doing that. And they said if we would have came a day early and they could have ran our social security numbers and stuff, we could have gone in tanks and blown stuff up. I don't want to get in a tank. They're too claustrophobic for me. I'm very claustrophobic, but I'd like to go see something get blown up. That would be cool.
That's interesting. What a time period. That must have been so much fun.
I loved it. It's like I feel like I'm time traveling when I do the World War II. We have Rabbi Rob that lives in Florida that has a bunch of tanks, and he brings his tanks. They have Kuba wagons, BMWs with the sidecars. They have a lot of, the battle is so much more interesting and fun and exciting. Now, the Civil War battle, they just stand in a line, Napoleonic warfare, and shoot and hope they, shoot someone, lean over, like get behind a tree, I mean, to me, that battle's not as exciting. I know more about Civil War, like the ladies' stuff, like clothing and etiquette and things like that, the home front part of it. I don't know that much about the battles, but when it comes to World War II, Germany and World War II, my dad was in the South Pacific. I don't know that much about the South Pacific part of the war, but I can go one-to-one with a professor or anybody with my knowledge of World War II in Germany.
Was it your dad that got you very interested in that?
Yeah, because I started watching documentaries and stuff, hoping to see my dad, because my dad was a hottie. And he flew planes. He was in the South Pacific on sub patrol, and he was a hot shot. My daddy was. All these young guys, you think about that generation, that was the last great generation. My mom at 18 years old was at but she was in a factory building airplanes, riveting airplanes. She was like Rosie the Riveter at like 17 and a half or whatever. I mean, that generation was the last great generation. I don't think there'll be another generation that comes along that can do what they did.
How old were you when you got into business?
I'm 21. Wow. 20 or 21. I don't know. Next year is going to be 40 years for me. So
what a time, what a career.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been a roller coaster, let me tell you. But it's been fun. I wouldn't have changed anything. Well, I'd have changed one thing, but
Yeah, of course. There's always those things.
There's always those regrets.
I think, I speak for
I'm so happy now. I couldn't be in a better place. I own my own home.
Yeah.
I have my dogs, my feral cats, my boyfriend, who's my life partner. I wouldn't change it. To get me here to where I'm at right now, and I had to change something, I wouldn't change anything that in my past to get me to where I'm at right now. because it's such a wonderful time.
I mean, you're chasing new dreams. You're going to learn how to cut hair, and you're still getting to go out on the road now. And
Yeah, on the weekends. It's great. I'm going to cut hair like 2 days a week, maybe.
Before we wrap this up today, I'll ask you a couple more questions. What were some of your favorite moments in professional wrestling?
Had to be doing the locker room interviews with Stan Hansen, because I watched it and I was like, oh my God, that's so campy. I can say it's campy now. At the time, it was cool. But now looking back on it, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. That was really, really fun.
That's awesome. And I guess, what are your goals now? Just to keep busy?
Yeah, I want to stay working. As long as somebody wants my autograph, I'm going to be there. It's like I did the Jericho cruise, and my line, I just keep having people coming up want me to sign the poster. And I was only supposed to sign for 2 hours, and I signed for like 4, because it's like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm still here. I'm not going to tell people, no, I can't sign it. I kept signing as they were taking my name down behind me and moving the tables. Because people were still wanting my autograph. And I was like, I'm not going to say no to them. I'm on the boat with them. I had the best time on the Jericho cruise, except I got a parasite when we went to Cozumel and was sick for a while. But other than that, it was a great time.
But you know what, though? That's sticking around and signing up. That's something that people remember.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good for your brand. And it's something genuine that you like doing anyway. So, I think, is there anything you want to promote? I know you have a book. You have other stuff going on.
Yeah, I got a book. Just come out and see me. Hit me up on Twitter, Missy Hyatt at Twitter. That's where you can see where I'm going to be. Like this weekend, I'm in West Virginia. Next weekend, I'm right outside Baton Rouge. Then I'm in St. Augustine coming up for, it's like an 80s wrestling con thing in St. Augustine. And what else do I have coming up? Phoenix Championship Wrestling next month. And then I think in July, I have Lubbock, Texas. Me and Medusa are doing something there. It's a 2-night event. So just, go to Twitter and hit me up, and you can see where I'm at, and come out and see me and say, hey, snarky looks are always free.
That's right. It's the real Missy Hyatt on Instagram, at Missy Hyatt on Twitter, and Missy Hyatt on Facebook. Check this lady out. She is still active. She's a legend in the pro wrestling game. And Missy, we thank you for your time.